About the actor, I'm just saying, you know, what are the White House going to do now? They're going to put Tom Cruise out to talk inflation? Is this where we're going?
You get it? Because like Matthew McConaughey is talking about gun control, and he's just an actor. He doesn't know about guns. You should only bring on people with relevant issue-based expertise, like when Jesse Waters had Pauly D on to talk about inflation. Seriously, inflation of all things. I don't know Pauly D. Maybe he knows a lot about the economy or whatever. It doesn't seem like that's his main appeal. But what Fox News wants is, they, just like Trump, they desperately want stars. They desperately want Hollywood. And they will bring them on. They'll bring on James Woods, and they'll bring on Dean Cain, and they'll bring on Stacey Dash. It's kind of pathetic, the best that they can do, but they will do that when they can. And the issue that they have with what McConaughey had to say isn't that he's a Hollywood star, it's that it was effective. And we want to give you just a taste of what it was like with this.
Invest in mental health care. We need safer schools. We need to restrain sensationalized media coverage. We need to restore our family values. We need to restore our American values. And we need responsible gun ownership. Responsible gun ownership. We need background checks. We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them. These are reasonable, practical, tactical regulations to our nation, states, communities, schools, and homes. Responsible gun owners are fed up with the Second Amendment being abused and hijacked by some deranged individuals. These regulations are not a step back. They're a step forward for a civil society and the Second Amendment.
Okay, so maybe Matthew McConaughey is just an actor. Maybe he doesn't have expertise, but he communicated effectively. And it was so effective that, honestly, maybe Jesse Waters aside, maybe Tucker didn't like it, the hacks didn't like it, but the newsy people on Fox did have to admit that he came across as pretty reasonable. Take a look at this.
Really interesting to hear him say there, someone from Hollywood, calling to restore our family values in the wake of that mass shooting at that elementary school in Texas.
Real impassioned plea there, and I think probably the best presentation that we've seen from that podium in an awfully long time. You know, he is a part of Hollywood, but he's a Texas native, a Uvalde native, very down-to-earth guy. I think that was an impassioned plea. Driven by he and his wife and the visit to Uvalde and what they heard firsthand and all of those stories and all of that, you know, the people that those kids and those teachers were going to be. Really, in the structure of that presentation, as you mentioned, was as good as it gets.
So look, those people might not be as influential on Fox News as whatever Jesse Waters is supposed to be. But I think that they have a more accurate read of what people think. Gun owners at large are not as unreasonable as the NRA, as pro-gun hosts. We know that because we know what the polls say on things like comprehensive background checks, the assault weapons ban, raising the age to buy these sorts of weapons, the waiting period, all of that. Most gun owners are perfectly fine with those sorts of things. It's their so-called leaders that are the unreasonable ones. JR, what do you make of all this? You muted, buddy.
What sucks is we're talking about this whole celebrity thing, and these Democrats are using these celebrities to make these points. Again, like you said, this happens across the board. The problem is now is usually this happens with politicians for empty reasons, for photo ops, and be like, look, I was hanging out with Matthew McConaughey, so you guys should vote for me. Instead, he says something, and now, because other entities want him to shut up and get back to acting, just like they say to athletes to get back to dribbling. So they're mad at Matthew McConaughey for actually saying something that will be effective, because now we have to have the conversation. Again, one that they don't want to have. Open it up. If Matthew McConaughey is such an idiot and doesn't know what he's talking about, or the things that he's saying are so radical, hey, push back. Say, you know what this dummy actor doesn't know? And tell me all the things that are reasons why we shouldn't care about 19 children that were massacred, dismembered by this gun, to where they're unrecognizable. So one more thing. about these celebrities in the White House. You know, Trump had Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, Kid Rock. Weird, because they showed up and Kim Kardashian actually pushed him to change policies on incarcerated folks and got some folks released. I remember that. Weird. It's crazy how once this guy can do it, they're okay with it. I got more. John Voight is a well-known conservative actor. He's Hollywood, but they love him. Dr. Oz just won his primary challenge backed by Donald Trump. That guy was a TV host for decades. This dude is exactly, it's what they're about. And lastly, I'm sorry to go on this long, Donald effing Trump. He was a game show host for years. Actually, remember in Home Alone 2, he made a cameo in Home Alone 2 because they shot one scene in Trump's Plaza Hotel. He forced them, if you're gonna use my hotel, you gotta give me a cameo. This guy can't wait to get in front of a camera on a movie because he's also the same thing, except he's not a very good actor. He has to get bully his way onto sets rather than actually have something behind him. Please spare me with the BS about how they're using actors for their political purposes when that's all conservatives want to do. They just usually can't.
I'm going to blow your mind. I was Googling Ronald Reagan, and most people don't know this, but he was an actor too. No, they're so desperate. They're so please put me in a movie. Please let me go to the Oscars. Please. I want to hang out with the cool, shiny people, please. And you know why they feel that way? Because everybody feels that way. Everybody would like some famous people to agree with them and think that they're awesome. That's reasonable. Stop pretending that you don't, Fox. It's entirely transparent, and it makes you look even more pathetic than you look when you have someone like James Woods on your show.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.